Imagine working your whole life to build a peaceful lake cabin, only to come home one day and find it demolished by your HOA, claiming you didn't pay their bogus fees. But what the HOA didn't know was that the man they just crossed had a family of federal agents, and the storm that was coming for them would leave the entire board shaking. For Daniel Hayes, his lake cabin wasn't just wood and stone. It was a dream he had worked 20 years to build. Nestled between tall pines and the shimmering water, the cabin was where Daniel found peace. A simple porch, a small dock for fishing, and the laughter of his children in the summertime. Daniel, a hard-working black man who had grown up with little, poured his savings into that cabin. Every nail, every board, every piece of furniture had a story. But peace has a way of attracting envy, and envy often wears a mask of authority. In this case, the mask came in the form of his homeowners association. They didn't like Daniel. They didn't like that he didn't attend their petty meetings. They didn't like that his cabin stood out as a place of joy while theirs were chained to rules. So, they hatched a plan, one that would change everything. One morning, Daniel found a paper taped to his cabin door. Notice of non-payment, property in violation. It claimed he owed thousands in unpaid HOA fees, fees Daniel knew were made up. His cabin sat on land outside their jurisdiction. He was never even required to pay. Daniel crumpled the notice and tossed it aside. Scare tactics, he muttered. But the HOA wasn't bluffing. 2 weeks later, he returned to the lake to find his world turned upside down. His cabin was gone. Where his porch once stood was nothing but rubble and splintered wood. His dock had been torn down, even the mailbox, destroyed. Daniel fell to his knees, tears burning his eyes. He couldn't breathe. Years of sweat, love, and family. Memories, reduced to dust, and taped to a post fluttering in the wind, was another paper. Property demolished under HOA authority, failure to pay fees. Daniel's hands shook. He wasn't just angry. He was broken. But the HOA had made a grave mistake. Because Daniel's family wasn't just any family, they were federal agents. That night, Daniel sat with his sister, Agent Monica Hayes, a sharp, no-nonsense federal investigator. Beside her was their cousin, Special Agent Carter Williams, who worked in federal fraud and racketeering. Daniel's voice trembled as he told them everything. The notices, the lies, the demolition. Monica clenched her jaw. They think they can bully you because you're quiet, but they don't realize you've got us. Carter leaned forward, eyes cold. This isn't just harassment. This is criminal fraud, abuse of authority. And if they touched interstate mailboxes, that's a federal offense. Daniel blinked. You mean? Monica nodded. We're taking them down. For years, the HOA had ruled the neighborhood with fear. Fines, threats, retaliation. People paid because they were scared, but now they had picked a fight with the wrong man. A man with family who had the power to expose them all. The next weeks were a storm. Monica and Carter launched a full investigation. They subpoenaed records, interviewed neighbors, dug through the HOA's finances. What they found was staggering. The HOA board had been running an illegal scheme for years, inventing fees, pocketing fines, and even using fake contractors to siphon money into their own accounts. Daniel's demolition wasn't just an isolated act. It was part of a larger web of corruption. They had targeted him thinking he was alone, but instead they had exposed themselves to the full weight of federal scrutiny. Neighbors who had stayed, silent out of fear, now came forward. They told stories of threats, fines for grass too long, punishments for mailbox violations. Some even said they paid thousands to avoid harassment. The HOA board thought they were untouchable, but now subpoenas were piling up, agents were circling, and Daniel, for the first time since the demolition, felt hope. It all came crashing. Down at the next HOA meeting, the board sat smugly at their table, sipping coffee, shuffling papers, until the doors burst open. Federal agents swarmed the room. Monica led the charge, badge in hand. Carter followed, armed with warrants. You are under investigation for fraud, racketeering, and abuse of authority, Monica announced. The room erupted. Board members stammered, shouted, tried to deny it. But the evidence was overwhelming. Bank records, testimonies, Photos of Daniel's demolished cabin. Neighbors cheered as the once feared board members were led away in handcuffs, their arrogance replaced with pale faces and trembling hands. Daniel stood outside, watching as the men who had destroyed his dream were shoved into federal cars. For the first time, the power was gone from their eyes, and peace, real peace, returned to the lake. Daniel rebuilt his cabin. This time the community helped. Neighbors brought lumber, paint, food. Together, they raised the walls higher than before. But the cabin was more than a home now. It was a symbol, a reminder that power abused is power lost. The HOA thought they could silence Daniel. Instead, they exposed themselves to justice. And as Daniel sat on his new porch, watching the sun sink over the water, he realized something. Sometimes life tears down the walls you've built, but sometimes it's only so you can rebuild stronger. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another powerful story of resilience, justice, and revenge. Now I want to hear from you. If you were Daniel, would you have fought back legally or taken matters into your own hands? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and remember, when arrogance crosses the line, justice has a way of finding its way home.